little short video. It's just on. There's a lot of talk, like we've noticed recently in the carnivore community. It's probably been going on for some time, but people are constantly talking about, the issues with copper and zinc imbalances. We've had Frankie in the past taking zinc, copper supplements, and all sorts of people talking about, how you need organ meats. And if you don't get organ meats, you're not getting your zinc sort of copper imbalance and all that, And, when we look out there, we look at a whole lot of other people doing, just steak only, occasionally having a bit of liver as a multivitamin, the way I do it. So my sort of focus is I just eat foods that I enjoy. I sometimes will have, oysters, as you guys know, which are very high in zinc. And so, the ratios there, probably are accentuated even further in terms of zinc and copper. So there's a lot of misinformation, and it just continually sort of drives me up the wall, as you can understand. And so, let's just slay another piece of bullshit that's out there. Anyway, to go into this, there is a class of enzymes called metallothionein. These are sort of are in the cell. There's what is it called? Golgi is a sort of inside the cell, this thing which it's sort of this organelle sort of is involved with it coming into existence. Obviously, the body itself transcripts through its own transcription factors within the cell, these enzymes. And these proteins are, little machines that just, they're considered very small machines compared to some other, sort of systems in the body, but they're very important, and they're sort of really sort of underrated in many regards by a lot of people and ignored. And a lot of people sort of focus on this sort of the zinc copper imbalance and all that. And it really comes from people being on inappropriate diets. Really, fundamentally, that's what it comes to. People are just not getting enough protein, rich foods. That means not getting enough animal flesh, which is the real fundamental gist of it. These are cysteine-rich sort of proteins, so they require cysteine, and also they require histidine to a lesser extent. So those are the two amino acids. They do require some minerals, so zinc, copper, voila, and selenium, my other favorite thing that a lot of vegetards and a lot of people out there, especially on a sad diet, don't get enough, which is really the crux of the issue. If you're not getting enough of these nutrients, zinc, copper, selenium, and in particular histidine and cysteine, but cysteine being the most important amino that's required, you can't really synthesize these in sufficient quantities. So they're actually synthesized in the liver and in kidneys primarily, within humans, but they do exist in sort of other organisms, other mammals, and all sorts of other organisms. They've been around for donkey's years, basically, but pretty much ignored by most people. These sort of have these proteins have really good binding capacity to zinc, copper, selenium, our three important minerals that are required for them, and also for those sort of more nasty type of which really are sort of the heavy metal type stuff, which is like cadmium, mercury, silver, and arsenic. In those sort of ones. So that's sort of that sort of cover. Now I just want to share this for a sec. They do have a couple of other roles. I did find this really interesting study. Let me just share this. Okay, so metallothioneins, we'll just call them MTs, like they've got it down here. It makes it bloody easy for me. So when I say MTs, I mean these emerging modulators in immunity and infection. So metallothioneins, we'll just read the abstract. If people want to check the study out, they can go and check it. There's the address for it. There's the actual number. Oops, right there, 5666878. So if you go to PubMed and type that in, you'll get the study. And are a family of metal binding proteins virtually expressed in all organisms, including prokaryotics, low eukaryotics, invertebrates, and mammals. These proteins regulate homeostasis of zinc and copper, mitigate heavy metal poisoning, and alleviate superoxide stress. So as you can see, when you get enough, your body has the aminos and minerals to furnish enough of these proteins, because they call them proteins. They are like little enzymatic machines, as I call them, because they are produced, okay, they're not transcripted in the traditional way that enzymes are transcripted, but they are produced within the cells, by those organelles being involved. And they do basically, they're still little machines. I call those machines enzymes. I call them all nano machines, as you guys know, because a little proteins, that's what they are. All proteins in the body are little nano machines that go around doing things. Okay. To keep it bloody simple, we use all these different terminologies just to confuse everyone, but fundamentally at the core of it, in the most simplistic way, the little machines of proteins that go around and do things, do work, the little, body slaves in there, whipping boys doing all their bloody work that's required. Anyway, sure must have loved that one, that comment. These proteins regulate, the homeostasis of zinc and copper. So when you've got enough of these, you don't really have to concern yourself, because they will be bound. They won't be able to go haywire in your body. But if you're on a low animal protein diet with insufficiency of these important components, then basically a zinc copper balance becomes a big issue. If you're on a very high therapeutic ketogenic diet with very low protein levels, again, it becomes an issue of zinc copper imbalance. So there are times when you're on an inappropriate diet or therapeutic sort of regimes where to properly measure these sort of elements is probably important, where you may be on a therapeutic regime and you may say, okay, I'm going to use, let's say, a selenium supplement to get more selenide in order to basically bind those heavy metals and take them out. I'm going to add a bit of activated charcoal to do that. When you're on a therapeutic, you may be on a therapeutic reason for cancer or a whole lot of reasons. So there are legitimate reasons why you may be doing a therapeutic form, which may provide some level deficiency in some of those aminos coming in from the diet. So there are legitimate reasons why you would have to then try and manage these balances in terms, and you may have to consume a bit more organ meats to balance those things. But if you're getting enough of those aminos, then it's less of an issue. And that's the key thing. So there's cysteine foods. So as you can see, 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of meat in the terms of pork chops will give you more than 100% of zinc. Having, let's say 3 chops, you're getting about 300, nearly you're edging close at about 400% of your requirement. So you're going to have plenty of bioavailable amino acids of this form to basically deal with those issues. So, and the same thing goes for beef. It's not too far away. I mean, the percentages is very small between beef and pork. Even chicken is pretty close as well. Tuna also pretty close. Another favorite of mine for selenium. So, and if you see all these animal plant foods are pretty low, and they're less bioavailable. Eggs, just 2 eggs. That's all you need. You've got it. In that regard, 4 eggs, you got 200%. So as you can see, you can really ramp up the amount of cysteine if you're on an animal-based diet. It's very easy. It's not a problem. So you can actually provide. So obviously, when you're getting sixfold, let's say I have 4 eggs, that's 200%. I have, let's say, 270 of tuna as an example. And so 2.7 times 1.2 plus, let's say 4 eggs plus 200 plus some cheese. So let's say about 100 grams, which I usually have. So plus 100. I'm having 6-fold, 6 times the amount. So I'm going to get plenty of cysteine. As you can see, it's pretty much all the animal foods are the much higher. They got a lot of, you have to really soak them for a long time and do all those traditional things that nobody does in a plant-based community to basically, and the same thing with seeds, you've got to soak them in order to free up both minerals and these aminos properly. Otherwise, they get pooped out for the majority of the people. So it's never going to get to these high levels to basically furnish the amount of aminos that are required to regulate these things. So that's the important message that you guys need to take and stop bloody worrying about, all the bullshit out there, because there's a lot of bullshit. Okay. Which is histidine, which is also important. Again, I mean, the levels even go higher when it comes to histidine in animal foods. I mean, just look at that. Nearly 200% from 3.5 ounces, So you can get just from steak, you're already up to 6-fold, just from a big nice steak, juicy steak. Similar, numbers, all the animal foods again, very high, probably tuna's a bit on the lower side, but you're still going to have about 250 odd. So you're still going to get about 75, 275 nearly of percent. So plenty. Stop worrying. And if you look at these, I mean, not very bioavailable, but probably the best source for them, but a lot of anti-nutrients. Beans, very, very low. Milk is pretty low in histidine, so it's not a very good source in that regard. So, but I still enjoy my milk for other things. It still has riboflavin, which is really important as well for energy production. So, and also for MTHFR issues. So it still serves its purpose for other reasons. Seeds, again, you got to soak them. You got to do all the sort of bullshit to basically liberate a lot of those things. So same sort of thing. Pasta, you got to eat like a kilo of pasta just to get to your 100%. This is why people are deficient in these amino acids. When it comes, there's essential amino acids, important things when it comes to a standard diet as well. People are eating a little burger, and all the buns and all the other plant-based shit with it, the sodas and all that, which are depleting a lot of these minerals because they require a lot of these minerals, and a lot of these you need more, B1. You need a lot of more enzymes to basically break down carbohydrates and deal with their toxic effects. So the problem is, this is why these people become deficient. If you're on a carnivore diet, you're not on an inflammatory diet. You are getting more than enough of these nutrients that you require. Eggs are not too bad as well, So you need 4 eggs will get you just below 100%. So it's not the richest source. As I said, you really need to be looking at these meats: tuna, chicken, beef, pork. Beef being the best when it comes to histidine. And you can actually look. Histidine is an essential amino acid required for growth and tissue repair, blood cell production, creation of neurotransmitter, and the other important part at the end there, protects tissue from damage caused by radiation or heavy metals. I mean, this is why, people that are very low on animal foods, they tend to have more of these problems. They tend to have their naturopath basically telling them, oh, we need to basically, put a whole lot of chelators in you and get rid of your heavy metal toxicity. You are a mess. We need to stick something up your other end, to basically, an enema to sort things out. You just have to bloody eat a species appropriate diet and you'll be fine. You'll get the things that are required to deal with. This is common knowledge. There's science. There's science. These are on the, they're not basically mystical stuff hidden away. And this is the government itself, researchers that have done this over many years and know exactly what these things are. This is common knowledge to those people that are in research and all that. Everybody knows it, except the general public are unaware because, again, the narrative doesn't suit. We've got a narrative against meat. And so, if we start showing this information, we'll basically have to acknowledge that meat is a very important superfood. But we can't do that. God, how bad would that be? And when you basically look, this is general information. Cysteine is the oxidizer diamine and is considered nutritionally equivalent to cysteine. So just to explain that, so just in case, because of the terminology, that's amongst many functions, cysteine creates antioxidants in the body. So you know what we're talking about, things that are intracellular, inside the cell, important antioxidants that our body can produce. So it requires cysteine. Again, a species appropriate diet will basically, a less inflammatory diet, will also furnish you more glutathione, more basically capacity. Another important factor, that people on very low protein ketogenic diets tend to have hair problems. Why? Because they're not getting enough amino acids, the important ones. However, none of these claims are established, obviously, because we haven't done clinical studies. It's basically observational studies, but we can actually see it in our community. People that are basically losing their hair are usually basically that are restricting protein. When people restrict protein, they fear and hate the meat. It's one of the two. We've been so indoctrinated to such a severe level, it's not a joke. It drives me up the wall. When it comes to copper as well, you pretty much can get with animal foods all the copper you basically pretty much need. Oops, let me just go back to this one here. So here's copper, it's 100. As you can see, take liver if you want, or you can have steak. If you have, a couple of steaks, 2 steaks a day or 2.5 or whatever, you'll get more than enough in the week just to supplement. So that's what I do. Oysters are also another very high in it as well. So as you can see, when you hit the seafood, it can be quite high. So you don't need as much in that regard, you know. So that's 100. So a big tuna steak will give you everything. And when it comes to zinc, pretty much that's a no-brainer, you know. Oysters, beef, and all that will give you more than enough. When we look at oysters, as an example, because it's based on things for people out there looking at this. So even when it look at this, the percentages, copper and zinc. You know, oysters just super. You know, they've got nearly 1-to-1. You know, this sort of. So you can have some oysters and really just top up, because you'll get some from that. That literally covers you for 4 days of zinc and copper requirement, in a sense, the 100%. So you can actually see, by throwing in a bit of seafood like I do, a few other things, you can actually get all the sort of stuff you really need in that regard. So let me just, and that was that one. Yep, I'll leave that alone. That was again sort of the, 400, having about 400 grams or 14 ounces of steak. You'll basically, which is, sometimes I have a steak as big as that, you'll get all your copper requirements that you need, and shitloads of zinc. And zinc are very important for the immune system. And if you've got enough of the proteins, you will regulate the stuff and bind the stuff, and you won't get the imbalances, so you don't have to worry in that regard. Now, on the other issue, let's just go further down. So these proteins, I've actually said that. MTs have emerged as an important, very large, unappreciated component of the immune system. That's true. Innate and adaptive immune cells regulate MTs in response to stress stimuli, which could be exercise or whatever, cytokine signals, microbial challenges, so which is any things that are happening in the microbiome. So MTs in response to, modulation of MTs in these cells in turn regulates metal ion releases. So, so here again, because ionic bonds of all these different metals, so the ionic bonds that have, these basically are able to regulate and basically bind appropriately and move stuff around and all that. So, and they transport and distribution and cellular redox status. So they're even involved in the mitochondrial side of things as well. Enzyme function and cell signaling. Yes, they are very important workers, workaholics, I would say, in the body. While it is well established that the host strictly regulates availability of metal ions during microbial pathogenesis, we only recently beginning to unravel the interplay between metal regulatory pathways and immunological defenses. And that's the zinc part, that is very important, and selenium and things like that in terms of protection of the body. And these buggers do have a very strong affinity for those three important elements. Anyway, and we know even copper, very important as an antimicrobial. So that's why these buggers play a very important role. In this perspective, investigation of mechanisms and levers of the potential MTs to orchestrate inflammatory responses and antimicrobial defenses has gained momentum. Yes, well, and then we haven't seen a lot of momentum since then, because It's unsexy. The purpose of this review is therefore to illustrate the role of MTs in immune regulation. We discuss the mechanism of MTs inducing signaling in immune cells and explore the therapeutic potential of MTs zinc axis in bolstering immune defense against pathogens. Eat your meat, get your zinc, get enough aminos to have them regulated, and they will defend you against viruses like the current one. So, that's pretty much it, guys. I didn't want to bore you too much in that regard. I didn't want to rant for too long. But basically, if you get enough of these nutrients from our wonderful animal foods, eggs are great sources of selenium as well. Another important element, just a reminder on that point, you shouldn't have a problem. Stop fucking stressing about all these things. We're being stressed to death by nonsense. People put in Chronometer their bullshit foods, and they go, "Oh, I'm deficient. Oh, I'm unbalanced." Just ridiculous, childish. As if the body, if it's given the right foods, can't regulate itself. As if it has an inability, somehow it lost the ability, when we got into the modern world. No, we ate the species inappropriate foods in the last 40 odd years, and that is 40, 50 odd years. And that is why we're in such an absolute bloody mess health wise and so imbalanced. And we can't, deal with toxicity in our body. We can't regulate things. We can't clear things out. We can't do a lot of things. Our immune systems don't work properly. It's because we're so unbalanced. We're not getting enough sun. We're not getting out in the sun, and getting enough vitamin D. Very important for those tight junctions in the, you want to stop, improve those tight junctions, get more vitamin D. A lot of people say, vitamin D can cause some, there's more nonsense out there, irregularities in the body. If you're eating species appropriate food, you will get enough MK4, enough retinol to balance all that properly. The other thing is, with these buggers around, you're not going to get any of these sort of capricious behavior, inappropriate behavior by some metals in your body. So stop worrying. Stop basically, put your feet up. Stop worrying about all this bullshit. Eat your meat, and you will be properly regulated by those little machines. Anyway, see you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.